Well guys, it's finally that time. I find myself unjustifiably in a situation that I'd rather not be in.
Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
When I mean cream, I mean boost, because I'm done with nitrous. So today, that's what we're talking about.
The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better.
So here's what we have so far. We have a YSI. I'm working on the bracketry. I'm just using the L21 as a test setup. I do want to make some fittings for L21 because we're going to have to go remote with the radiator. See this? There's no way all that's going to fit there. I can maybe get another radiator and move it up here, but honestly, I want to keep all the weight off the nose right here. And the radiator, I'm going to move this guy, at least here, this is the plan, move it right there. I'm going to cut a hole in there, push this down so it's kind of a scoop. Also keep rocks from hitting it directly, and we'll mount it right there in the rear right here. And of course, all this nitrous stuff, gone! Nitrous, no more. So here was my last run with nitrous. Let me run this clip real quick. And it did okay. It's about 200 shot. It did run a new personal best in the 8th, which is a 580 9.9. Better a mile per hour, 116.78. And the quarter at 108. Because you can see, whenever you have a lower mile per hour than your 8th, you know you're letting off. But this tune-up was not really the best. I was just creeping up on a tune-up. I made a pass before this. Remember, I was doing all these test hits in the street, and this just goes to show you that when you're doing pulls in the street without coming in the first gear, it's definitely just a ballpark setup. And when I said before, all my videos, you have to make a full hit from the start line to the end to really get an idea of how your tune-up is. And the reason why I said F nitrous is because the place that sells it used to be for $8 a pound. They stopped filling bottles. You have to get a mother bottle now. And so I had to get a mother bottle, and where in the hell am I going to put a freaking mother bottle? Not trying to add any more clutter in the garage. It'd be about $500 to be out the door with a mother bottle, and then I have to figure out a way to fill it. You can do it by heating up the bottles, cooling these, put these in the freezer, and you heat up the main bottle, and then you can fill up these like that, which makes it around $7 a pound after the initial investment of $500. So after that, I was like, screw it, I'm done. I'm not gonna fill up these bottles for $10 a pound and then go to the track. It's like literally, it's almost $20 with the nitrous every time you make a hit. It's just insane. So I was just done with it. I love nitrous, but the price was just getting out of control. Nitrous is now a rich person's power adder, it seems like. It's crazy. It may be cheaper to put it on there, but you're gonna pay a whole bunch more for getting your bottles filled. Then after you pay everything up front with one of these guys, then your boost is free, and then you can use E85, which is even cheaper because E85 is way better on boost. So let's look at this tune-up. I easily, on this guy right here, easily could have ran a 570. And the reason why is because look at this, it was really fat. Let me get a little better capture of that. This is the hottest plug, which the timing mark is way up here. See it? I could have put more timing in it. This is the coldest one. Now these look a little fatter than it would be. The air fuel was around 10 to 11.1. So I could have leaned it up, and after looking at the plugs too, when I pulled them out, I could have leaned it up. So the plan was, before I said F nitrous, was to keep on going up on a nitrous jet, don't pull any timing, and see how it creeps back and get the air fuel, you know, in around 11.5 to 8.9 range. And that would have still been a pretty safe tune-up. And just bring, if it looked like it was starting to go in a little more on this, I would have pulled just 1 more degree. But I easily could have got about 2 more mph out of this nitrous, and I could have got another 1/10 off of this. So it could have ran a 560, you know, keeping it under a 300 shot. This was basically a 200 shot of nitrous. That wasn't really that great on the tune-up. Could have been better, but we're done with that. We are now moving on to better things, and this is definitely gonna be our deal. So you guys definitely want to subscribe and watch this, because I'm going to go over everything. Let me go over a couple of things which we're going to do. Like I said, first, we're going to relocate the water pump. I'm going to do it with the this 400 first. I don't feel like pulling all this out. And the drain for this guy, because this is the Vortex, or it is a feed. And what you do is you run it, I believe it's this right here. You run this to the blower, and like right here, and then the drain, I think it's on this end right here, and you drain that down to the pan. But on the 400, we can put the drain right here. This will block off right here. I'm sorry, a mechanical water pump, this block off right here, we can drain this, it goes directly to the pan. So that's the idea with the 400. Now there is a couple of other things we got to do to this. Okay, let's talk about another challenge. You see right here, we have a crank trigger. Get it focus. The crank trigger right here. So what that does, you're going to have to put a pulley system for your blower right here. So this is going to move everything out. And you can see right here in the bracketry, you would have to space that out right here. There's a way around that. I'll tell you what we're going to do. But also, you don't want everything hanging out super far, because that's more stress on your crank to break shit. There's a couple of things in here we're going to have to do. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it. I don't want to pull the motor, but I do have a little way I think that we can make this work. So basically, they have an ATI makes a balancer that has a flying magnet crank trigger built into the balancer, so that way you don't have to worry about spacing all this out right here. Now the other thing is you have to worry about, this is going to be I have a single keyway. Most cranks are machined, if you're really starting to boost it up, for a double keyway. So what I'm going to try to do is to have a small block Chevy kit where you can pin another side of this. So you can pin the balancer and pin the crank, where a pin goes in there. So essentially it's like a double keyway, but you're using a pin instead, and you don't have to pull the entire crank out, you know, the whole motor apart, just to add a stupid keyway. So we're going to try that on the 400. Hope it works. And also, I notice I'm not going to run any power steering here. One thing I have to run up here, which is going to be the alternator. There's another belt that comes down depending on your pulley. I could be wrong, but I was talking to a Vortex. It's a serpentine or a V-belt pulley for your alternator. So all I'm going to run is a belt for the alternator up here, and then a belt right here. The tensioner goes right here. This won't be a cog. I'm going to run a 10 rib setup. I'm going to probably pick up a grip tech pulley, so that way I don't have blower slip on a belt. Because the more research I did, the more pressure you put on this to keep it from slipping, the more stress it is on the crank. And also, I'd like to fabricate some type of crank support. I have all this stuff I can use, since I'm not running I gotta see where the belt goes first before I can make any of this, but I got all this stuff right here that I'm not using, and I can make another piece that comes off right here. Maybe it kind of ties into something else up here in the motor. And what it does, it attaches to your crank right here after your bolt goes in, and it keeps all this from shifting back and forth, so you don't end up breaking your crank, the nose of it off with all that stress. So there's all those things I got to consider. We're going to look at them all in the future. I'm still gathering parts. Let me show you some of the parts that I have right now. Okay, so here's a whole bunch of shit that I have right here. They sent me a 8 rib mechanical tensioner. This guy right here basically goes on here somehow. I think it just pushes down on the belt to tighten it. It's not a spring-loaded system. It's all mechanical, so whatever the pressure is there, it's on the entire time. And then here is the 10 rib pulley for the top of it. They're supposed to send me the actual crank pulley system, but then they said, oh, we're just going to send you all this shit that you won't even fucking use as whatever. So I guess I'm going to end up just selling a bunch of this shit that I'm not going to use. I don't know what the heck this is. I'll have to look at the instructions a little more. But right here, what we have is some of the fittings for the remote water pump. Sorry, remote water pump and remote radiator setup. This is -16 right here. And then I got these guys. These are actually stainless steel, so I can weld them in different spots. Now, of course, I can't weld aluminum because all I have is a welder that welds steel. This is a gasless welder. And right here, this is going to be the front of the block for the small block Chevy, where the fittings come off of. Now that was pretty damn tight in the front there with that guy back there. Now hopefully on the small block Chevy it's not so tight, so I might have to buy some steel fittings right here and a plate and then make something that kind of comes out and around that. Not sure, but we're going to be doing all this. It's a whole bunch to do. I don't think I've seen anybody with an S10 with a YSI and a Vortec yet. So this will be a first. I think it's gonna be a fun video. We got a lot to do. I got a lot of parts to buy. I'm not made of money. So if you guys subscribe, we can get this built a little faster. But I'm gonna cover everything. I'm talking about everything. Because as we speak right now, Kevin has my 850 E85 carburetor, which he's going to convert to a blow through. So all the resources, everything that I have to do correctly to make this work on this guy right here, Kevin from CSU is going to guide me through this. So we're going to go from relocating the radiator to the back first, so it gets around all the bracketry, worry about where all the belts is going to go, the crank trigger with the new balancer. Of course, before we put the blower on there, we can run it motor to make sure the cooling system works out great. See how well it cools, then put the blower on there, the blow-off valve. I might add two blow-off valves. I might have one that I can put on CO2 so that if I do have a problem with it, like not hooking up a no prep, I can bring the boost in a little more gradually. I don't think I've seen anyone do that either. I'm sure someone has done that, but I haven't seen it. So we're gonna go over all that. Fuel pump, fueling, cooling, belts, all this good stuff. So make sure you subscribe because this is going to be a very interesting series. And until next time, guys, don't forget to subscribe and peace. It's turbo time! Woo! Sweet car, brother. How much does that cost?
More than you can afford, pal. Ferrari.